Despite ranking outside our top 20 quarterbacks, there are still a few guys that have top 12 potential. We finished up our quarterback rankings for the 25 season on today's episode of Locked On Fantasy Football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Fantasy Football podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm one of your co-hosts, Michelle Magdziuk, and when I'm not doing this, I'm a researcher and fantasy analyst with NFL Network.
And I'm your other co-host, Vinnie Iyer. When I'm not doing this, I'm writing about NFL fantasy and betting for sportingnews.com.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets right now. We are finishing up our quarterback rankings today. We have been going through them over the first 2 days of the week on Monday and Tuesday. If you missed that, you can go listen to those episodes. We're looking at guys that are ranked outside of our top 20. Yesterday, Jordan Love just made our top 20 list, but there are still some guys that, even though we have ranked low, because they come with a lot of risk, they do have high upside that we could see them, if everything works out well for them, possibly finishing as a top 12, top 10 guy. So I want to start with some guys and just ask you who you think is a better pick for upside / safety as a quarterback too, really, if you're playing in a super flex or 2 quarterback league, or if you want to back up in your 1 quarterback league. So you have CJ Stroud as quarterback 23. I'm at quarterback 22. Yesterday, we talked about how Bryce Young was sitting there at quarterback 19 for me. He made my top 20 while he's sitting as your quarterback 22. Do you think Bryce Young or CJ Stroud is the better pick for upside and, also a floor?
First of all, it's crazy we're talking about this now because just a couple years ago, CJ Stroud was on track. I mean, Texans were turned around. Bryce Young had no hope, but this is why patience pays off, folks. And the Panthers have displayed some patience, given Bryce Young the superior offensive system. Don't forget, with CJ Stroud, we were looking good with Bobby Slowick. Slowick is now gone after 2 seasons. So all the arrow that was pointing up for Stroud is now pointing up for Bryce Young. I mean, he comes out there, finishes the season strong with Canal, so the light went on for him late, and then they say, okay, we can think about defense. Our defense stunk last year, record bad performance, but we're going to go get a wide receiver for Bryce Young, and that's great for fantasy because Cedric McMillan has looked fantastic so far in training camp. The chemistry with Bryce Young, you've given him a top receiver. And these other guys, suddenly you're looking like complimentary targets, Adam Thielen, Jalen Coker. These guys look now dangerous because they're not the guys, right? When they're trickled down and you're spreading it around, then Bryce Young can take off and run a little bit. It's not going to be his primary weapon, but he's got the mobility to put up numbers that way. So everyone wants to see Bryce Young succeed, I think. He's a good young man. He's had a good pedigree. He's really one of the nicest young quarterbacks you'll see. So I think everyone's rooting for him. Everyone wants it to happen. Can we will it to happen? We're getting close, I think. And again, he just has a little bit more upside because he can run a little bit more than Stroud. I would say right now he is close to having the same amount of weapons as Stroud, right? Stroud does have Nico Collins, but Ted McMillan could be on the way to something special in the NFL as the number 1. So things are starting to get equalized and maybe now tipping clearly in Young's favor.
Yeah, it's interesting because we both have Bryce Young ranked ahead of CJ Stroud, but Stroud is well ahead of him in average draft position. Stroud is the quarterback 18th off the board on average, while Young is quarterback 25. About 3 rounds different between them in the double-digit rounds. So I'm with you. I like Bryce Young's upside. And, I mean, the Stroud last year, it was Young had a lot better games than he did, especially towards the end of the year where Young really turned it on. So I lean with you there as well. I do think Stroud will be better than last season.
Yeah,
I don't think it'll be, I lean the Bryce Young way. Now, we basically have Geno Smith and Sam Darnold completely flip-flopped here. So I have Geno Smith as my quarterback 21. You have Sam Darnold at 21. Sam Darnold's my quarterback 27, while Geno Smith is your quarterback 26. I just feel a lot safer with Geno Smith. I mean, I was actually shocked last year that Geno Smith was the quarterback 16 on average, right? We've seen him have a top 10 quarterback season in 2022 with Pete Carroll. No, it was also with Dave Canales. So he's going with a familiar coach that we've seen success with. He has way better playmakers, I think, than Sam Darnold does. It's really the Brock Bowers that really changes it. But I like Jacoby Myers. I like the young wide receivers they brought in. Ashton Genty will help him get so many like freebie yards to just dump offs, right? Should help the offense be moving. Well, Sam Darnold is changing teams as well, but like he's not familiar with the system. He is going away from an amazing play caller in Kevin O'Connell and the best wide receiver in the league. His weapons are just a lot more concerning overall. So I feel much safer about Geno Smith than Sam Darnold this year.
Yeah, it's a very interesting situation that's developed. Sam Darnold replaces Geno Smith. And again, I didn't expect this type of quarterback kind of carousel to happen here with these situations. Now let's look at it. I mean, Sam Darnold has some familiarity with Clint Kubiak from his one season with the 49ers. So they're together again, right? So there's something there that could work out. And he's got Jackson Smith and Njigba. We'll see what Cooper Kupp has left in the tank. We'll see if either rookie Torrey Horton at wide receiver or Elijah Arroyo at tight end can boost that number, right? So there's that. Now, Geno Smith has played for Pete Carroll. He's never played for Chip Kelly, but a lot of the concepts that Chip Kelly used to run in college, Geno Smith is familiar with from his days at West Virginia. So there's a little bit more than you might think in favor of Geno Smith here, but I just don't trust Geno as much as Sam Darnold. Darnold has got the momentum a little bit more, right? From playing in the O'Connell offense last year, going out there. I think he's playing with a lot of confidence. Well, Geno kind of faded a little bit with Seattle. So that's what I'm looking at. Look, there's still some question marks with this Raiders passing game. And also, I'm a little bit concerned about the Raiders passing volume with Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly. Are they going to be run heavy, just protect the defense, and just really lean on Ashton Genty? It looks like they might do that. I think Geno Smith might be efficient with lesser attempts, but Sam Darnold might get the volume we're looking for. So that's where I'm looking at it with there. But I think both these guys can't be totally forgotten about in the quarterback 3 range, right? Because again, they have had good fantasy seasons in the recent past. Geno Smith a couple years ago, Sam Darnold last year. So again, you can't totally forget them. I think you can do a lot worse than having one of these guys as your second quarterback in the 2 QB league Superflex. In fact, I have both of these guys in a league behind JJ McCarthy. So I'm starting to feel good, like I have some depth with those guys and Jalen Hurts. Like all of a sudden, I've got 4 starting quarterbacks, and sometimes that works out. But either I think it's a good target for your second QB if you don't want to invest a high pick in Superflex.
Now, Cam Ward finally gets into my rankings here. So first rookie quarterback makes the list, and he makes it at quarterback 23. You're a little bit lower at quarterback 27. What I found interesting is that you have Michael Penix Jr. over Cam Ward, and I have it opposite. So I have Michael Penix Jr. at 28. You have Penix Jr. at 25 with Cam Ward at 27. Why? The reason why I think I would go with Cam Ward over Michael Penix Jr. is just because I feel a little bit better about his scrambling, right? I mean, Michael Penix Jr. is going to give you absolutely nothing in the running game. It's not like Cam Ward is known for being a great rusher, but I still think he can give you more there. Michael Penix Jr., I mean, it just went 6 fantasy points, 11. He did have that huge blow-up game in week 18 against the Panthers, but it's against the Panthers. I don't know. For some reason, I'm just not trusting Penix in fantasy. I think they're going to lean on Bijan Robinson so much. And like I said, he had 5, 3, and 3 rushing yards in his three starts. So I just trust Cam Ward a little bit more to not fall on his face in fantasy points.
Yeah, I think the one difference is I'm a little bit okay with the Falcons' weaponry a little bit more than what the Titans have. They have Calvin Ridley, but they got to figure out some other things, right? Behind Calvin Ridley, they have Chig Okonkwo. They have some intriguing people, but they had to move on from Treylon Burks. So how does it all come together for Cam Ward? But you're right, the cheat code potential of running and being efficient in the red zone could make up for what Penix might do through the air. So I'd say as we're getting closer, as I got to see Ward play, like I think this is pretty much a toss-up for me at this point. I mean, I want to go a little bit deeper, but I don't think I'm going to bang the table and invest on either one of these guys all that much. But Cam Ward is going later, and I want to take advantage of that a little bit more. So, again, personally, I think it's very close for me, but I think Cam Ward right now is the better value because the industry is even lower than we are on this guy. So I just don't get it. I've never seen a first round number 1 overall pick get so little attention, right? Especially if he's starting right away. There's no Will Levis in the picture. We know he's going to start, so I don't get it. But maybe there's a little trepidation because it's the Titans. But I would not be surprised if Ward just looks a lot better than Penix if we get into 1 month into the season.
Yeah, I'm right with you. All right, we have some quarterback competitions that we're struggling with here to figure out where to rank them, who's going to win. So we'll talk through those, we have these guys ranked, who we think will win, all that good stuff after a short break.
August 26th, circular calendars there because it's officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches for only 24 hours. FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Maybe you want to use this chance to go after some dark horses in the race, and maybe you're interested in Joe Burrow or Jaden Daniels, somebody off the beaten path that's not Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen for MVP. Maybe you're looking at a team outside of the Eagles and Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. That's a good way to get in. And you can also parlay division winner with dark horses. That's always fun. You think the NFC South and AFC South are rather unpredictable. So all kinds of ways to get into the action with futures. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. All right, Michelle, I liked your toss-ups that we had, very related toss-ups in the first segment here. Now we have some more different kind of toss-ups, right? I mean, there's 3 notable battles, I would say, for quarterback. I mean, the Giants maybe is adjacent to this, but the 3 that we're tracking the most are the Colts with Anthony Richardson versus Daniel Jones, Joe Flacco versus Kenny Pickett versus Shedeur Sanders versus Dylan Gabriel. That's with the Browns. So we have a 4-man competition, if we want to call it that. And then Tyler Shuck versus Spencer Rattler, and I guess Jay Kaner is still on the roster there in New Orleans. So, all right, let's start with the Colts here. Who do you think wins? And are you going to be interested in this winner for any kind of fantasy relevance?
If it's Daniel Jones who wins, no, not for fantasy. I'm not going to be interested in him. But Anthony Richardson, you have to be, right? Like last year, we were down on him big time because he was being drafted in the 4th round. And it was like, that was way too risky to take that shot on him. But now that he's basically free, I do think, I mean, you got to take a shot on a guy that could eat, like, if you're talking about a guy who could hit 1,000 rushing yards as a quarterback, Anthony Richardson would be at the top of that list if we knew he was going to play a full season, right? So if that's the case, then he does have a lot of fantasy value, especially this late, and he's worth taking that risk. I don't know who's better for like the pieces around them. Probably Daniel Jones, especially for our Tyler Warren, shares if we have him. Maybe for Jonathan Taylor as well, because Daniel Jones is more willing to dump it off than Anthony Richardson. But I think at the end of the day, the Colts have to go Richardson to start the year. Right? It just doesn't make any sense to go Daniel Jones if they're equal in practice and they look pretty much similar and Richardson's healthy. You should go that way. And if that's the case, then he's a pretty good value in drafts. But we both have him ranked quarterback 26 for me, quarterback 30 for you, just because we don't know if he'll even be the starting quarterback.
Yeah, and you said if he's healthy, and immediately he was unhealthy, right, with his finger injury early in the battle. There, they both played in the first preseason game. Then Anthony Richardson already dealing with the finger issue. How far does that put him behind, if anything? Is it still even going into the last couple preseason games? We don't really know exactly, but I think Anthony Richardson all of a sudden becomes an intriguing QB2 should he get the starting job. If he doesn't, then I'm a little bit more interested in the weapons, but really the weapons really come down to Tyler Warren and Jonathan Taylor. We're not getting into the wide receivers too much because I don't know if it helps any of the wide receivers for either of these guys being the starting quarterback. I think you would have to look at it this way. Daniel Jones is more willing to check down, take the short to intermediate, while Anthony Richardson's probably going to still be firing up the deep balls to Alec Pierce and hope he comes down with it. So I'm not quite interested in the winner of this battle that much to draft, but it's intriguing, right? I would watch Anthony Richardson if he can show some improvement. Winning the job is going to be key in itself, right? Because they had some doubts. So if he wins the job and he's their best quarterback, then okay, we're going to pay attention to the situation. But not that I would draft him, but I would keep close tabs on him early in the season. They do get the Dolphins an interesting first game there, so we might have a good indication of where this Colts offense is going early in the season.
Yeah, I think we'll have our answer to the Colts hopefully pretty soon here. But with the Browns, it's been nothing but a disaster so far this offseason. I mean, they have 1 gazillion quarterbacks on the roster, but at this point, everyone's hurt besides Joe Flacco and Tyler Huntley. Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel are dealing with hamstring injuries. Shedeur Sanders just got hurt in practice, oblique injury. We don't know how severe that is and when he'll be back. It seems like the job's just going to go to Joe Flacco. I don't think whoever starts is going to keep the job very long. This is their first 6 weeks of the season. It goes Bengals, Ravens, Packers, Lions, Vikings, Steelers. Very easily could they go 0-6 no matter who the quarterback is. So that makes me not interested even if Joe Flacco wins the job. Like I know he had that like fantasy season to the end of 2023 year with the Browns, but that came back down to life with the Colts last year. He's 40 years old. Like I'm not going to buy into Joe Flacco having those big games again. Maybe we'll keep an eye on if Shedeur Sanders will get a chance midseason. Maybe you pick him up, but I think this team overall might just be a really, really bad offense overall.
Yeah, I can't believe. I mean, this is a very odd time with NFL rookies because we care so much about a 5th-round pick. Like I've never seen anyone care more about a 5th-round pick in the history of this game than right now. So, but everyone's looking at Shedeur Sanders, and the dominoes have started to fall for him in a way where Pickett and Gabriel got hurt. He had the extent of playing time against the Panthers, looked pretty good. Operated on a few touchdown drives. So, I mean, there was something there, right? He took some positivity out of that, working pretty well with what was out there on the field. So, Sanders definitely made his case there. I still think he's buried at number 3 on the depth chart. It's going to be hard for him to climb out. The team likes Flacco to kind of keep things together. But Kevin Stefanski is in the mode where he's going to be coaching for his job. And at least he has to show some flash of evaluation with Sanders, I think, at some point this season. Now, Sanders did please me a little bit with just a dash of running. It wasn't all that significant, but it was 20 yards, right? There's something there. I didn't think he was going to be interested in taking off and running, so that's there. Again, the weapons are going to be the concern beyond David Njoku and Jerry Jeudy. What else is there for the winner of this job? But I'd be a lot more intrigued again. Watch list, right? If Sanders wins the job, much like Richardson winning the job in Indianapolis, I'm going to put him on the watch list. I'm not going to put any of the other quarterbacks on my watch list if they would win this job, including Flacco.
No, and the last quarterback competition with the Saints, I don't care about either one for the fantasy when it comes to the quarterback position. Tyler Shook and Spencer Rattler for the Saints team that just, I don't know, Shook had a fine preseason game in his first one after throwing a pick 6, but, came back together, had some good throws in there. Spencer Rattler had a couple good runs. We've seen this team with Spencer Rattler, though. Maybe he's taken a big step forward. I don't really think so. But they're not going to be in our top 30 even rankings for quarterbacks. But who is the better guy to win for Chris Olave and Alvin Kamara and Rashid Shaheed? Which guy would you prefer?
Yeah, the one thing Tyler Shough did was deliver that long touchdown pass to Mason Tipton. So it was a bit of a roller coaster, right? Looking kind of sloppy otherwise, but then he showed off his deep arm, which is what his calling card was to get him drafted so highly by the Saints. So I don't know exactly if he's going to be good for anyone, but I think Rashid Shaheed has a better chance here if Shough starts because of the downfield passing. Like Spencer Rattler's not going to do that as much. So it actually might help maybe the underneath targets, the Alvin Kamara, Juwan Johnson, Chris Olave trio if Rattler starts because he can push underneath. But Rattler could also stink and not get the ball to any of these guys, where Shough at least is going to be a little competent, maybe go through his progressions, get it here. But again, I think this is good for Shaheed. That's why I like him as a sleeper. I'm assuming right now Shuck is going to start. So if we go in that direction, I think he gets a little bit of bump. I'm just not interested in Chris Olave. I mean, he had a chance with Derek Carr last year. Then they both got hurt, and that was it. But there's just something a little bit off about him. I'd rather take a shot much later on Shaheed and be more interested in Kamara and his checkdowns, kind of racking up his numbers again, than going there. So I think you'll see a lot of dump offs or a lot of deep shots, and not much in between here from Shuck.
Now, there are 3 veteran quarterbacks that we are completely out on in fantasy. Now, they're not going high in drafts, but even if you're in a 2-quarterback league or anything like that, we just don't want to touch them whatsoever. We'll get to that to end today's show right after we hear from another one of our sponsors. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is almost here, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. This year, like always, Vinnie and I are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. I've used Yahoo Fantasy for years, and the updates they're rolling out this month are wild in the best way. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's only one team left standing. With the season around the corner, now's the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. But if you're just into the classics, that's okay too. You can still play in head-to-head private leagues or just join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl. All right, let's finish up our quarterback rankings here. And there's 3 veteran quarterbacks that we have not discussed yet. And that's Tua Tagovailoa, Aaron Rodgers, and Russell Wilson. They are all buried in our rankings. I have Tua at 29, Russell Wilson at 32, and Aaron Rodgers at 24. So I guess Aaron Rodgers is a little bit higher than the others. But you have Aaron Rodgers at 28, Russell Wilson at 29, and then Tua a little bit higher there at quarterback 24, I believe. Quarterback 24. Yep. So you're highest on Tua, but still we're both out on him, right? Because his ADP is sitting at quarterback 20. I think maybe we are being a little too harsh. He was the quarterback 15 in average scoring last year at 16.5 points per game. I mean, it was just below Justin Herbert's average points. Quarterback 21 on average in 2023. We saw him have a quarterback 10 season in 2020. But with the injury worries, with Tyreek Hill getting older, with Jalen Waddle stuff being, down where he's not performing as well, with the team getting rid of Geno Smith, I can't even think about taking him. I'm okay if I miss out and he stays healthy and has a good year.
Yeah, I think he's one of those where we're not missing out on too much. He doesn't give you anything in the running game, so he's going to be dependent a lot on what he does in the passing game. I don't think Darren Waller is going to suddenly turn back the clock and be a key target here for this offense. So I think what you're going to see is a lot of Devin Achane and maybe Jalen Wright out of the backfield to really take pressure off Tua. And they changed the offense, right? As soon as Tua got hurt again and had more injury issues, here comes the compression of the offense. You could really see it, where if Geno Smith and Devin Achane took over as the key targets over Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, then something was going there. I think Mike McDaniel was a little bit wary, maybe trying to protect his quarterback because he just got the new contract and all that. So maybe there's some things going on there. But Tua, look, I don't care if he completes 75% of his passes. If they're short and he's not taking risks, then we're not going to get the return on investment we're looking for on a pure pocket passer. Like, he could easily end up with negative rushing yards this year. So you don't have the opportunity to get that. So he's just not interesting at all. Like, so he doesn't have maybe he's a sneaky pick or the youthful upside. He's got none of that. He's somewhere in between, and he's on the rankings, but I think it was more, hey, it was QB 15, but still not exciting last year. Dropped him all the way to the bottom of the QB2s.
And then with Aaron Rodgers, we're on par with his average draft position. Again, I have him at quarterback 25. You have him at 28. He's going on average as quarterback 26. So most of the industry is out on him completely. But I mean, I get it. He was with the Jets last year and didn't have a ton of weapons. He finished his quarterback 22 on average, but now he's going to the Steelers. He doesn't have a lot of weapons, and the Steelers defense should be really good with their new secondary, with TJ Watt still there, with that pass rush just all along the line. And they should be focusing on the run game too. I just don't. Aaron Rodgers has DK Metcalf that he might connect with 8 to 10 touchdowns, but where are the rest coming from? And I'm not looking forward to Aaron Rodgers coming through with this big fantasy performance. The last 2 healthy seasons we've seen from him, it's been 14 points per game and 15 points per game. I just don't see the upside.
Yeah, there is no upside there with Aaron Rodgers anymore. He's not going to guarantee him. This is pretty much going to be his last season in the NFL. He's trying to win games more than anything else with the Steelers, so he's not going to be too worried about his stats. That said, I think he'll have some value as a streamer in the right matchups. There's not going to be maybe a lot of those matchups, but again, he was, as Michelle mentioned, QB 22 on average. I think he was QB 17 overall, which is probably shocking to some that he even cracked the top 20 last year. So he was a hard guy to rank for me. Really, you haven't heard a lot about Tua. You haven't heard a lot about Aaron Rodgers this offseason. So it's hard to get into their minds and figure out their mindset and what they're going to do to execute their offense. Oh, no, like if I had to pick one and maybe stash one, I might look at Rodgers a little later than Tua, but I'm not interested in playing any one of them. I think they scream third quarterback in a super flex or 2 QB league to play during the bye week.
Yeah, and then lastly here, Russell Wilson. Even though he's been named a week 1 starter for the Giants, I don't care. I don't think it lasts. He wasn't good for fantasy last year. I mean, it started really well in his first start with the Steelers, but a lot of bad games after that. Averaged 15.7 points per game last year. But I just don't think he's going to remain the starter all that long. They have Jackson Dart behind him. Jameis Winston might get in for 1 or 2 games too. But their starting schedule goes Commanders, Cowboys, Chiefs, Chargers. 1 easy game against the Saints, then Eagles, Broncos, Eagles, 49ers. Like that schedule, they're changed. Russell Wilson's going to win 1 or 2 games in that period of time with the Giants. He's not going to be the quarterback there long. He's kind of just a scapegoat right now until they can get Jackson Dart in. I could not care less to draft Russell Wilson.
Yeah, Jackson Dart, go figure, has a big preseason debut, and then they don't waste time to name Wilson the starter. Maybe that's just the safe conservative route. Again, Brian Dable, another guy like Kevin Stefanski, coaching for his job with Mike Kafka as well as the offense coordinator. So when you look at that, I mean, the pressure should be on to play Jackson Dart sooner rather than later, because I hate that, right? You have an offensive-minded coach and you're drafting a quarterback, but then you don't get a chance to work with that guy to prove that if you still got it and you should remain on the team, right? So our ideal scenario, Michelle, is if Russell Wilson plays through those first few games, takes some lumps, and we see Jackson Dart out there against the Saints in a good matchup and dive right into it, right? I mean, Dart just showed me everything and the reason why they drafted him. Now, I think I'd like him to be attached to Dable and Kafka as long as possible because they're really good at working with that type of quarterback, which I think they just ran out of luck with Daniel Jones. Didn't have the same capacity to lift their team the way they wanted. So they're going to try again with Jackson Dart, but I don't see Russell Wilson lasting long. And if they go with Wilson to the bench, then I think they'll jump Winston and go to Dart and then just have Winston as the backup.
Yeah, as they should, right? They need to see what they have in Jackson Dart. I think they're going to lose a lot of games this year. Have an early draft pick again, probably next year. At least see what the rookie can do and see if you have your franchise quarterback. And Jackson, I mean, if Jackson Dart becomes the starter midseason, maybe we're interested in him for fantasy, right? He's more mobile. He has a bigger arm. He'll be playing with Malik Neighbors. But yeah, right now, to start the year, completely out on Russell Wilson. But that'll be it for today's episode. That's it for our quarterback rankings. We'll be moving on to our tight end rankings for the rest of the week on Thursday and Friday show. So don't miss those episodes. Thank you all for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen every day. Have a great night. Bye, y'all.